Right. Okay. Hey, you guys. Thank you for joining that DevRel meetup in Asia. DevRel Asia meetup. That's the correct name. That I'm not sure about. Okay. I guess that almost guys the first time to join the DevRel meetup, right? Maybe. That's how all we excited to have you guys at the first time to coming here. And this is the DevRel Asia meetup. Usually the meet at Sushi and Taro, and we are having the DevRel meetup in Tokyo regularly, monthly. This meetup is the extra meetup that as a for not only Japan, the for Asia, not only Japan, like the India, Korea, China, or something. Yeah, but today we are happy to have the several countries that are coming here. All right. Anyway, let's get started. Okay. All right. Okay. So, this slide is usually we use, but today we have no drinks and no alcohol. But, yeah, but it's just a slide. This character is Dev and Rel, and image character of Dev me up. So this is Reru-chan. This is girl character, right? Okay. So動かない。No move. Okay. すいません。ピコッと。あれそもそも出てきた。Okay. All right. So this is important task for getting awareness of this meetup. So this is important task. Let's pick up your smartphone and it's okay to shot any picture around here. And so please tweet or please post in LinkedIn or if you have an account, also the Facebook or any social network media. So we have some time, so please show this situation of this meetup. Yeah, please do that. Hashtag assistant, the specific hashtag we have. DevRel Asia. Okay. Yeah, sure. Right. If someone hate you on the social network, please hide your face. Right. All right, thank you guys. Okay. All right. Today's theme is communication and DevRel Yokohama 2023 recap. Today we have several guests attending this meetup from overseas. So we want to discuss something about the DevRel and from Atsushi recap for DevRel Yokohama, right? Okay, today's agenda is here. Now 7:35. And after that, we have the self-introduction time, maybe 20 sec or 30 sec for each. This right? Okay. All right. Just a second. All right. And we want you as organizer, but I'm not sure some people based in Japan or some people based in the overseas. Yeah, but if you are interested in this meetup organizer, please let us know that, right? All right. We have the Twitter account for DevRel Asia. That's a place for us. Okay. That's all. Okay. So let me move to the self introduction time. I hand you guys the mic. Please introduce yourself. And first, the please, Don.
Hello, I'm Don Goodman Wilson. I work for a consultancy called Katsudan.tech. You'll hear more about that later. I live in Lisbon, in Portugal, but I am American. yeah, I've been doing DevRel for too long now. Here.
Hey everyone, my name is Addison Schultz. I'm also American, but I currently live in Amsterdam and working in Tokyo. Pretty fun. But I currently lead the developer relations team at a company called Gitbook, and was working in DevRel for the last 5 years at companies like Miro and Framer before this. So yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about some integration platforms and yeah, some of my experiences before that.
Hello, I'm Emma. I'm French, and I'm just accompanying Addison for like 2 months and traveling with him. And I have nothing to do with DevRel, but I'm interested by understanding it.
My name is Kotomi, and I work in web engineer and backend front-end development web application. And in DevRel Asia, first time today. よろしくお願いします。
Hello everyone, my name is Rika May Soliva. I'm from Philippines and I came here in Japan 2020 and I'm a engineer intern at Hexabase and it's my first time to attend this kind of event and please take 今日よろしくお願いします。
Hi, hello everyone. This is Taro Kawashita. Currently, I'm working for the software engineer in the research and development at Sony. And currently, me and Taiji and Atsushi are organized in this meeting in Tokyo and in DevRel Asia and sometimes DevRelCon Tokyo or Yokohama. So I'm very excited to talking about the Asia members. So thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Orie Mimori. I'm working for the company called Hexabase. Hexabase offers you a backend service, and I often describe Hexabase as a relational database version of Firebase. And our company started DevRel last summer, and in the very beginning, I met Nakatsugawa-san and asked him to support our DevRel activities. So now I joined this event today with our brilliant interns, 3 interns. So I'll pass it to one of our interns. No. You first. Sorry, thank you.
Hi, my name is Wassim Samad. I'm from France and I'm currently living in Japan for 1 year. I'm in charge of developer relation for a small startup named LSTO. It's a platform to deploy open source software. And I also create content on YouTube about 3JS and React Free Fiber.
Hi. My name is Ryota. I'm working as a marketing intern in Hexabase. This is my second time to attend DevRel event, so.
Hi everyone, my name is Takahiro Suzuki. I also working as a marketing intern at Hexabase. It's the first time to joining these events as DevRel activities. So よろしくお願いします。よろしく。
Right. Again, me. And my name is Taiji Hagino. I work at the Datadog as a technical evangelist. Actually, before that, I worked at our systems, and before my previous company is IBM, and almost my role is technical evangelist with community manager. I've been involved in developer relations for 8 years. So I am the co-organizer of this meetup, and I co-organize also the for developer conference, something like a DevRel or DevRel Japan or something. And I'm happy and I'm excited to have you guys today. Anyway, please have a fun. Thank you. Right.
Hi everyone, I'm Atsushi. I'm organizer of the DevRel Asia or DevRel Meetup in Tokyo. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, hello everyone. So please enjoy the event today, and we will hold on the other type of DevRel Meetup, yeah, like this. So please join the other meetups also. Thank you.
All right, thank you guys. So we'd like to move to the session, and first of all, discuss DevRel Yokohama and then recap by Atsushi. Is it correct? Maybe, right?
Okay, so thank you for coming, everyone. So I will talking about our recap. Recap of the DevRel Yokohama and DevRel Japan Conference 2023. So please raise your hand if you attend the DevRel Japan or DevRel Yokohama. Oh, it's nice. Over half. Okay, thank you. So let's get started. So it's an abstract of the conference. We held two conferences on the same days, same venue. DevRel Yokohama 2023 and DevRel Japan Conference 2023 on the March 10 and 11th. So we have 217 attendees, and we just only hold on the event only in person. So what is DevRel Japan's and what is DevRel Yokohama? What is the difference? So it's about DevRel Japan conference. It's since we had a conference since 2019 and organized by DevRel Meetup in Tokyo. It's a communities, and all sessions are Japanese. And maybe 2019 we had a conference in the Tokyo, and the next day, next years we were on the just online because we got the COVID-19 pandemic, and after that we held a conference online and offline, and in this year we decided only in-person conference at Yokohama. And the DevRel Yokohama, organized by my company, Moongift, and DevRel Meetup in Tokyo. It's a collaborate. And since 2017 from Tokyo, maybe don't attend the conference in 2019, 2018. Okay. So at the Cyborgs, Tokyo, maybe. And after that, we will had a conference online in 2021, and in this year we decided to hold on the conference on Yokohama in just only person. So compares looks like that. So DevRel Japan provide all sessions are Japanese, and the DevRel provide all sessions are English. So, and it's our attendees list like this. So in 2019, 129 attendees, and in this year, so 217. And the sessions are the at first years we have just only 15 sessions, and in this year, 52 sessions, right? And the speakers like that, and maybe I want to focus on the tweets. Like in 2019, just only 425, and in this year's 200 2000 tweets in 2 days. So, and if you want to watch our tweets, it's a Japanese service. Together we will collect every tweet in this URL, so you can watch our tweet anytime on the URL. So, and we will share the photos in the Google and Amazon, like this URL. I will tweet the URL after the sessions. You can watch how about conferences. So attendees coming from the Japan, about 62%, and foreigners just only 4% plus speakers. It's a very few, I think. So because normally half of attendees are foreigners from US or Europe, but in this time they have no budget. Everyone said to me, we have no budget. Okay, I see. So yeah. So, and countries, number one countries from attendees in India, right? And maybe secondary is USA and UK, Czech, Canada, China, Australia, French, Germany, Holland, like that. So in this time, we have maybe 20 or more 12 or more speakers coming from India. So I love Indians so much. So sponsors like this. So we collect the sponsors, so many sponsors than before that conference like this. But you know, GitHub already they provide a global service globally, but most of other sponsors it's domestic. It's Japanese companies, right? We communicate sponsors in Japanese, but only GitHub communicate in English. So I think so many Japanese domestic companies recognize what is DevRel and why they do something in the DevRel to Japanese developers. I think it's good things for me. So sessions. First day, we provide the business and marketing days. So currently, I tackle to try to publish our sessions on the YouTube right now, but sorry, not yet. So, but already I published it, keynote by Fujita. He works at Mabel, and he works at already. He works at maybe GitHub and Microsoft and Auth0, yeah, and Mabel. He have so many knowledge of how to increase their service in Japanese market, or how to fit to Japanese market. So he shares the knowledge on the session. After that, Kim Maider, author, share about how to measure the business value of developer relations, because the first day is business or marketing day. Or looks like that. So Diana shared the knowledge how to talk to women. You know, it's a very, I think we confused about this session, about it's very sensitive right now. And she already got the harassment from someone's in the conference already, past conference, not DevRel, you know, but she shared some ideas how to update his mind, or how to make the good world to developers, including men and women. So she shared about ideas. It's very good session, I think. So, and the second days, developer community days. So we have 3 tracks. It's so many sessions. So I can't explain about every sessions, but like that. So our keynote speaker is Takuo Suzuki, who works at the Google, and he talking about what is the difference the developer community in Japan compared to other countries like US. So we have to understand the culture of each countries. Like Japanese have Japanese cultures, and the Indians have Indian cultures, and the Singaporeans have Singapore culture. So we have to understand each country if you want to go to other countries, right? So one of the examples in India, they hold the meetup event morning on Saturday, right? It's very strange, but they love it. And after the meetup, they go to lunch together. And in the Singapore, they are holding the meetup on the weekday night. But if you go to the event of them, they prepare the food before the meetup, and they eat the dinner, and they talk and communicate each other's, and sometimes, and suddenly the organizers said, okay, so they coming together, and we will start the meetups. So after the sessions, they said, okay, we are end up, so by now, so something. So it's upside down. So normally Japanese event is first is a session. The after is after party, like communicate each other. It's upside down. Yeah. So we have to understand each culture, each country's cultures. So, and like that, he's a Chinese. She's a Chinese. So she's one of member of the WASMU Edge. It's a WebAssembly communities, and yeah. And after next one is she comes to the no, sorry, she's a Russian, but she works at the NGX from maybe Czech Republic something. So, and she shared knowledge, or maybe he works at the New Relic from Singapore. Yeah. Or maybe so many people know about him, Mike Elsmore, who works at the IBM pastry, right? And currently he works at the Infobit, and Infobit send a lot of proposal in this time. So, and his talk is very good, but if I choose the just only the rank, so we have to choose a lot of talk from Infobit. So we have to skip his talk, but finally I pick his talk. Or yeah, he works at the Infobit also, and he's African, South Africans, and he shared the knowledge of how to make the community in the Africa. Yeah, that's very interesting. So, and Jaime, it's some people know about him. Jaime works at the American Bank company, and he is the first developer advocate in the company. And he shares knowledge in the DevRel Tokyo 2018, maybe at first. And after the years, he become to the managers, and he shared about how to manage the members in the conference. And in this time, he talking about more like he become to the more looks like a boss, right? So I think he grown up with our conference, I think. Yeah. So I like him. So, and all of video will be hold on the this URL, and I already just only 2 videos on there. So, and after I make the videos, I will upload it on there. And impressive photos, yeah, it's the first one. Do you know the looks like this? Please watch it. Oh, just sorry. It's a video to it's videos for social media, right? So I really hope to spread the DevRel Yokohama a lot of the world around the world, but then nobody retweets it. Yeah, yeah, it's very unfortunately. Yeah. And it's a conference dinners. It's an on-off show, and a teacher is made the paint of himself in the Yokohama, and they made takoyaki in there. And it's a speaker dinners. It's very cross. Yeah, it's crowded. Sorry, crowded. And we gave the birthday cake for her because March 10 is her birthday. And I remember, do you remember it? In the Praha, we gave the, yeah, his birthday, and organizers prepared the cake for him, and it looks like same, yeah.
I need to start scheduling my birthday during the DevRel event.
Oh, okay. But it's a surprise, you know. Okay. So it's a sticker exchange, looks like that. So it's good. And it's lunch. Do you explain about bento already? Okay. Nice. Okay. Yeah. So we are prepared it. Yeah. And it's a refreshment, and like chocolates or senbei or something, but nobody taking a potato chip, because it looks like a dirty something, the finger, and they can't use a laptop or keyboard, something bad. We some sponsors give a tongue for attendees. You can pick up the potato chips very cleaning. Yeah, it's very nice. Yeah, yeah. I hope so. Yeah, it's very good ideas. And the photo booth looks like that. We put the katana, ninja sword, with Japanese sword, and they taking the pictures. Looks like that. Or booth radius looks like that. So it looks like a duck. And the group photo looks like this. So many people, so many attendees taking a photo in one place. And after party like that. So yeah, they taking a picture with our logo like that. And after that, karaoke. I don't know why, but every speakers coming from the overseas, they want to go to the karaoke, and they sing a song a lot. So Jaime, he sing a song, what to say? It's a Japanese anime song, Evangelion song. Yeah, but yeah, I think every speakers become the stupid in the karaoke time. I think. Yeah. So summary. So in this time, many people attending the first day than I predicted. It's a normal day, weekday. March 10 is a Friday, but there's so many people coming to the conference, and but few foreigners are attending the conference than I predicted. Yeah, in Japan, we don't feel the market is horrible. Maybe our market is normal, like than other countries. So I have no ideas. US or UK market is very terrible, they said, but I have no idea about that. Yeah. So, and in this time, many Japanese companies supported our conference, not Western companies. So next year's their market or their profit will be rebound. So I really hope so. Okay, that's all. So 2024, I hope to hold the conference more bigger or more enjoyable than one. So please attend it. Yeah. I wait you. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Hey, thank you, Atsushi. Any questions? The first session. Right.
When is 2024 going to be?
When?
Maybe I think more best season in Japan is April or March. I think. If you are lucky, you can saw cherry blossom, so many, and or very bad season is summer. So, year too
Right.
hot, too hot. So,
Oh, first time we had the July.
July,
Yeah. Yeah, right. True.
So every speaker said too hot. I hate Japan. I have never come to again. So something so yeah. Or winter is very cold.
Uh-huh.
So
Right.
I think.
I think it we find the compared than the London winter, right? Every year they had the DevRel London in December, around December, right? They just really cold that we went to, right?
June is a rainy day, rainy season, and September is coming to typhoon.
Right. That's
So
true.
I think March.
That's true.
I want to hold the conference same month or next month. Yeah. So please save the date.
Right, correct. and we have enough time for preparation.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Anything else? All right.
You said you had a lot of application from InfoBip. You had a lot of applications in general.
In conference ideas, something. One of the things, there is a conference named Web Summit in Portuguese. It's a combines so many conferences in the same days, in a week. So 21 or 25 conferences in the one venue. So it's my dream. I want to bring the Web Summit. Looks like a Web Summit in Japan. Yeah. So some people focus on the JavaScript or IoT or Python or anything, but they come into the same spot. Yeah. And they communicate, and including developer relations. It's one of ideas.
It's like this time the DevRel and the DevRel Japan conference, right? Yeah. So the question, the mainly the for lots of info people, guys, the submission, right? So yeah, right.
Sorry, it's why we send out so many proposals.
In general.
Generally. But we got the maybe 100 or more proposal from overseas or in Japan. It's because awareness maybe, and DevRel's originally DevRel Twitter accounts spread our tweets or our informations, and at the first time 2017 maybe we got more few proposal, but continuously and in this time so many Indians want to come into Japan for the conference, so it looks like maybe it's an awareness, I think. Yes. They want to meet a ninja, or they want to meet a Gundam, or they want to go to the anime stores or something. So we spread the ideas to come into Japan.
Okay, thank you very much. And next, I move to the Don, the session. Did you already join the stream yet? Right. Okay, cool. Right.
How should I? Should I stand? Oh, my back. I'm getting old, y'all. Hello, I'm Don Goodman Wilson. I'm not on the Twitters anymore, but I am on the Mastodons. That's my handle there if you're interested in that. I want to talk about bottom-up growth, and I want to talk about being strategic about it. So I'm a consultant. I work with startups who are building developer relations programs, and very often they come to me and they say, well, we need a community. We need developers using our products so that their companies will buy it. So we're just going to open source it, put it on GitHub, and that's all we need to do, right? No. And so over the past few years of advising companies about how to do this sort of thing, I've sort of developed a framework for thinking about how and when to think about bottom-up growth from a very strategic point of view, and thinking specifically in terms of the product. And looking at the product, understanding how the product works, and using that as cues for building a thoughtful bottom-up strategy. So I have my own consultancy, Katsudan.tech, which was a name I think either you or Joe or both of you at the same time had suggested to me. If you don't know, it comes from Katsu and Don. It's a pun. I love Katsudon. I love Katsu. And I love DevRel. So we all know, everybody in the room, everybody online, we know that getting our product into developers' hands so that they fall in love with it is sort of at the core of what we're doing, right? And then hopefully they buy it after they fall in love with it, right? But what does this journey look like from getting the product into a developer's hands to a purchasing decision being made? And how do we optimize that path? And I want to talk about a couple of different routes that we can use to get there. And I want to talk about some signs that we can use to determine when we shouldn't be trying to do this at all. And what do we do then? So we have like 80 slides to blow through. And we're going to get through them really quickly. So some of these slides are going to go very quickly. I'll share them after the talk for anybody who wants to go back and review some of them, but we'll try to hit the highlights slowly. So broadly speaking, I see two paths to success with bottom-up growth. The first one is to get developers to try, and this is going to sound really obvious until we dig into them, right? Get developers to try your product at work, sometimes called land and expand. So a developer, I don't have a remote control, so we're going to do it like this. A developer has a pressing challenge, and your product has the solution, right? And then ideally somewhere in between those two things, there's some money to be made, large bags of money, right? And you get a tight feedback loop, right? In terms of improving the product, learning from the experience of the developers, and there's a decreased time to purchase because they're already using it at work, right? So this is the ideal path to bottom-up growth, is to get developers trying your product at work, right? And when it works and why it works, we have some developer motivations to look at here. They look good to their colleagues when they're using your product to solve a problem that they have. It makes them look good. It makes them look productive. They like that. And so they're more likely to continue using your product in that case. They look good to their boss. They get a pay raise. They get a promotion. They improve their CV, which improves their chances for getting a better job somewhere else, perhaps, right? So those are all, let me back that one up. These are all reasons why developers would be willing to try your product at work, right? Because all of these things are strong motivations for developers. And if you can convince a developer that any of these things will come true, they're much more likely to use your product, right? But production is a high-risk environment, and you're asking them to do something very risky. You want them to try your product, maybe not in production, maybe in a test server somewhere, but it's still all very, very risky for them. And developers are going to be very conservative about this because they worry about things like underestimating the costs of using your product. They might create unwanted technical debt trying to integrate your product. They might receive unwanted attention from legal or policy. Is not something that we often think about, but is a very real thing. They might look like a fool in front of their boss for making a mistake about choosing the wrong solution, right? They might make their boss look like a fool, which is arguably even worse, right? And they might even lose their job, right? Not likely to happen, but it's in the back of their minds. It's something that they're thinking about. What are the risks of taking this and playing around with it at work in front of my colleagues, in front of my boss? Everybody knows what's happening. So when you are thinking about taking this happy path with your product, and there's a series of questions that we can ask ourselves. And in the longer form of the talk, we have some worked examples, but we only have 20 minutes and not an hour today. We should be asking ourselves, what risks does a developer take by experimenting with your product in production? Conversely, what benefits can a developer reap by experimenting with your product in production? And I just want to, now I'll come back to that example at the very end. But these are two surprisingly deep questions, and they, in many cases, take multiple days, perhaps even weeks to answer these sorts of questions. But once you can answer these kinds of questions, you can know, is this something that we want to encourage developers to play with at work? And if so, like, once you have answers to these questions, you also have answers to other questions like, how do we convince them to do it at work? How do we get it in their hands? How do we get their attention? So takeaway number one, developers are risk averse at work. These are the the important slides here. Takeaway 2, developers are motivated by social rewards, right? They want to see the admiration of their peers. They want to get the validation from their boss in the form of a promotion. They want to appear to be more productive. They want to be the 10x programmer, right? These are all things that we can sometimes provide, at least in small doses. Developers are motivated by improved career prospects. This is a big one, right? This is why developers dabble in open source, because if they can get, I'm a maintainer on this large project on their resume, right? That looks really good for their career prospects. And so takeaway 4, do a risk-benefit analysis of trying your product in production if you want to take this route. And you probably do want to try to take this route. All right, so the second path to success is to get developers using your product in a side project, not at work, but in an open source project or something they're playing around with at home. And this sounds cool. So you find a developer who has a pressing challenge at home. Your product has a solution, of course, right? And the idea here is developers will experiment with new technologies. They do this all the time. It's something that's sort of in our bones as developers. We love playing with new toys. And so maybe your product is a new toy that they can play with and experiment with in a relatively risk-free environment, as we'll get to. And then ideally then, they'll bring their experience with this product to their job. And then this is a much safer path in many ways to get your product to get used in production, because now the developer can play around with it out of the prying eyes of their colleagues and their boss in an environment where they're less likely to fail, and then bring it to work, knowing that it's more likely to bring them success in their job, right? Eventually, maybe, right? This is actually a much longer path, a much more difficult path to get your product down. So it's low risk, but also kind of low reward. That's the problem here. This is much smaller money bag than before. So you have a loose feedback loop and increased time to purchase. This is the cost of taking this route, right? It's a loose feedback loop because, for example, with an open source project, it can be very difficult to determine who's using it. I don't know. Some people downloaded it from GitHub. They installed it over NPM. I don't know who they are. Number goes up, but I don't know who these people are. And there's an increased time to purchase because they have to experiment with it at home and then bring it to work and convince the team to use it, right? But side projects are a low-risk environment. That's the benefit, right? No one is paying attention to what developers are doing in their side projects. Probably, maybe. They're a low-benefit environment because nobody's going to buy your product for a side project, right? And they're not going to reap huge benefits from your product in their side project, except the experience and knowledge of using it. But again, no one is paying attention to what they do, so that's all right. But even at home, there are risks to experimenting with your product, right? So they might be wasting their time, and they don't want to waste their time. They want to try something new that's going to make them better at what they do, that's going to improve their prospects at work. The product might not be meaningfully impactful, right? It might not be the sort of product, I mean, for example, Kubernetes is not going to be meaningfully impactful for a side project at home because you're not going to be scaling your side project to millions of concurrent users, right? You just don't, it's not a thing that's going to have an impact on your project. The product is not relevant to their current job, right? This is a risk more to you than to them, but we as developers are always playing with different kinds of technologies that may or may not have anything to do with our job. This just means that in many cases there's going to be an even longer time frame before the developer will be able to bring the knowledge that they gain back into their work, right? The product doesn't matter for their CV. That's a risk. No one will ever see their work. Most side projects are dead ends that nobody ever sees, right? Like when I was working at GitHub, we did an analysis once, and I forget the precise numbers, but it was really shocking. Like 98% or 99% of projects on GitHub have one maintainer and may have been committed to in the last year, and no one cares, right? 100% of my projects on GitHub are like that. And I've got lots of them. And that's just That's just the fact of open source. There's a very, 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 very long tail of projects nobody cares about. But that's okay. That's what makes us low risk. So, but remember those motivations from before, right? They can show off their project if it's successful, and this is something you can help people do. They can make a positive impact at work eventually down the road. That makes it easier to leave their job and build a new company. This is a thing that happens, right? People start as an open source project. They realize that they can monetize it in some way or build a business model around it. And they do precisely this. And if they're using your product in that side project, then of course it's going to be part of their stack at the new company that they build. So again, you want to ask yourself, what risks does a developer take by experimenting with your product on the side? And what benefits can a developer reap by experimenting with your product on the side? And you may find that the answer to these questions are not obvious, right? In many cases, a lot of what businesses think, well, if we just, going back to my opening comment, if we just put this on GitHub, then people will use it and it's going to be great. That's probably not the case, right? Most things that go up on GitHub, people don't care about. You need to make the case that there are benefits and there are very few risks before developers are going to start flocking to your open source project. So you have to think about these questions very carefully. So takeaway 5, developers are risk takers at home. Developers build side projects to improve their social standing, and we can leverage those motivations. Developers build side projects to advance their careers, and again, we can leverage those motivations. And developers need your help to realize these benefits, right? They don't want to labor alone in the dark. They need some help. They need us to lift them up, right? If we see that they're using our products in their open source projects and they're doing so successfully, let's help them share that news with the world, right? It's going to help increase their social standing. It's going to increase their job prospects, and it's something that we can do to help them. So now, all that said, not every developer product is suitable for a bottom-up strategy. And this is the real meat of the talk, actually. It's like, how do you know when your product is and is not suitable for a bottom-up strategy? Ostensibly, if you've answered some of the questions before about the benefits of using your product in production or a side project, then you have a notion of whether it's suitable or not. But there are some further questions we can use to dig. And the fact of the matter is that's okay, right? Not every developer tool needs bottom-up strategies to work. I have some examples in mind that we'll get to here, all right? Because not every tool can be easily brought to work. For example, products that require team buy-in. If I need to convince the rest of my team to use this product too, that's tough, right? It's tough to convince one person. It's that much tougher to convince 2, to convince 3, to convince 4. If your developer, your target developer, has to do this, probably not a good idea to try to get them to use it at work. Products that require retooling. Nobody really wants to rework their development pipeline unless they absolutely have to, unless it's actually broken, right? So don't assume that developers are just itching at the chance to build a new developer pipeline. I mean, unless the pipeline is broken, and that's part of the challenge that they face. Products that require legal or policy approval, anything involving publicly identifiable information in Europe, for example, anything touching security, anything that exposes the company to risk of litigation, right? Anytime the legal team gets involved, like the developer is just not going to engage with the legal team. I like the legal team personally. I've had a lot of fun engaging with them, but I'm also in DevRel, and I'm not we're people, right? But developers in general are not going to seek out legal or policy approval for anything. Products that require a long learning curve, right? We've all talked about time to getting started, time to hello world, right? There's a reason we want to keep that short. If it takes 2 days to work through your getting started tutorial, they're not going to do it, right? And with some products, that's just the way it is, right? Some products require like intensive training to really understand, like Kubernetes. I will never understand Kubernetes. There, I said it publicly. It's a really tough one. If you have a product like that requires so much understanding and training to get up to speed. I mean, unless things are just that broken, that it's worth the time to do that. But in most cases, it's not. Likewise, not every tool is suitable for side projects. Side projects don't need to scale. They don't need to scale. If your product is aimed at scaling things quickly, don't expect people to use it in their side projects, right? Side projects don't need optimization, right? I don't think anybody's really using New Relic in their side projects. Side projects don't need security. I learned this from the hard way when I worked for a security-focused company called Screen, and we tried to get people to use Screen in their side projects. They did not want to use Screen in their side projects. And we couldn't demonstrate the value of it because nobody was hacking their side projects, right? In general, they don't need security. They don't need DevOps, right? You don't have a team of people who are working to implement continuous integration and delivery on a one-person open source project. And they don't need monitoring, right? You get the idea. There's a whole range of things that developers need very badly, but they can't, there's no benefit to playing with them on their own. So if it feels like your product isn't suitable for work, for use of experimentation at work, and it isn't suitable for experimentation as a side project, then maybe you're just going after the wrong demographic. And that's okay, right? Maybe you should be targeting engineering management, right? Maybe it's not the developers who are going to be making the purchasing decision here, right? Maybe you should be targeting the product teams. I worked with a company that had a bit of dev pipeline that more closely connected the tools that the design team was using with the UI tools that the front end team was using. And for the front end, they just couldn't care less about this. But for designers, it actually meant like much faster turnaround on the things that they were doing to get it into engineering hands. And it turned out, despite being a developer tool, they were better off marketing to the product team instead, right? Maybe you should be targeting policy offices, right? If you've got a security product, maybe you should be going for the chief security officer and not the engineering developers directly, right? Or the CTO, right? Anyway, there's probably somebody who's making the decision and is not a developer. That doesn't mean you shouldn't be doing developer relations, but it does mean that maybe bottom-up strategies are not the right thing. Maybe you should be doing more traditional marketing instead. Maybe you need a billboard or a sign inside of the Yamanote line trains, right? Which are about here for me. Maybe you should be doing sales. This was the case at Screen, the security startup that I worked at. In fact, we had a sales team in parallel. The sales team was killing it. And it turns out the way that companies were consuming security products like Screen was in a more traditional route. They were making sales to the C-suite and upper management, and developers had no interest in it whatsoever because they couldn't experiment with it in production because of policy, or an open source because nobody was hacking their projects. So takeaway 9, be realistic about your product's suitability for bottom-up strategy. That's a tough one. Takeaway 10, make sure developers really are who you want to target. Are they making the decision? Are they in a position to evaluate your product? So let's put this all together. Here, we're coming to the summary. There's 2 roads to bottom-up growth: experimentation at work and experimentation at home. There might be more than 2 roads. I'm open to that idea, but I'm not sure. Developers at work are risk-averse, are motivated by social rewards, and are motivated by improved career prospects. And if you can find a way to make the case that your product is going to do these things and not do this thing, not be risky, then you've got a good shot at getting developers to try it at work, right? Developers at home, on the other hand, are risk takers. They're much more open to experimenting with new things and trying things that may not work. But they build side projects to improve their social standing, and they build side projects to advance their careers. So again, you need to make sure that your product is positioning them as they experiment and see success with your product to do one of these 2 things. And they need your help to realize these benefits, right? Because just like you can't put a project on GitHub and expect suddenly everybody to fall in love with it. The lone developer making an open source project for fun on the side is certainly in the same position, right? So if you can leverage your own networks to lift up the people who are doing these things, then they're much more likely to really try the product, really try to understand the value of the product and share it with others as well. So do a risk-benefit analysis of trying your product in production, and do a risk-benefit analysis of trying your product in a side project, right? These are really important steps for understanding how you're going to put together your own product or your own bottom-up growth strategy for your product. Finally, be realistic about your product suitability for bottom-up. Not all developer products are. Make sure developers really are who you want to target, and know what your other options are for when everything else fails. And that's what I have. I hope this is very helpful. Thank you so much.
Any questions?
Questions? Oh, come on, this is the best bit.
Hi, thank you. Thank you very much. Good to your presentation. I have a question about the first step for developer. How to retrieve to contribute to the project at home or at work? How to retrieve to the first my contribution? How to retrieve at the home, at the work?
How to
Yeah, we are using some open source project and some production software. But really, I don't feel what is much suitable for me. And in this case, how to retrieve or how to search and how to gather these tools or products or community.
So that's really the key to bottom up, right? Is identifying the developers you want to be using your project, right? And that's the hard work that I've glossed over, right? How do you find these developers? So for me, the first steps are always to have conversations with individuals. So you probably have at least one or two people using your product, and you can talk to them and ask them, what challenge does this solve, right? Or how has this improved your standing? How did you find the product? and can I go there and find more people, right? And I think it's a very slow process. Actually, this is the topic of my talk at the 2018 Tokyo DevRel Con. Was how do you find these people, and then how do you bootstrap the one or two people that you find into a much larger community? But for me, the answer is always start by talking with people and build a relationship. We're developer relations, right? When you have a relationship with a couple of people, it becomes much easier to find more people because, of course, they have friends, they have colleagues, they have a network, and they will let you in, and you can meet other people who may have a similar challenge. Is this answering your question?
Oh, okay, thank you very much. I want to go outside.
Okay.
Already you say that home at home. This is much more.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Dan. Our next session is presented by Addison. Right? Are you ready? Right? Go. Okay. USB の充電器？あ、Mac の。あ、あります。
All right, thanks. Finally. So thanks everyone for having me. I'm going to talk about some of the do's and don'ts about building developer products, specifically building integration platforms. So actually I'm curious for the people in the room, is anyone currently working on a product right now where they're building an integration platform? I know that we're all working in DevRel, so we're probably working on developer-focused products. But I'm wondering if anyone's building any sort of like API specific or integration platform, maybe that allows them to build on top of the current functionality of another product. Is anyone doing that at the moment? Okay, well, maybe you guys will learn something new. Otherwise, maybe some of the things that I'm going to talk about are pretty familiar to everyone here, because actually in Don's talk, actually noticed a lot of similarities about some of the things that I'm going to be talking about as well. So my name is Addison Schultz. I lead the developer relations team in a company called Gitbook. Really happy to be in Tokyo. And it's actually pretty funny. And I think also speaking to your goal about getting DevRelCon Tokyo bigger, because that's actually how I heard about the meetup and how I got invited to speak here. So congrats and good job so far. But right now we are focused on launching an integrations platform at Gitbook. We haven't launched it just yet, but I'm basically focused on getting it off the ground. I was also working on launching the integration platform at a company called Miro before this, and also at a company called Framer before that. And I have just a list of things that I wish I would have known at both of those two experiences that I'm applying at my time at Gitbook now as I'm launching the integration platform. That I wish I would have known. And I thought that I'd put together a quick list and kind of go over them and see if these might relate to any of the products that you're also building. There are a few themes that we're going to just talk about, and they make a lot of sense when you think about it. It's basically a lot about research, a lot about feedback, and a lot about documentation as well. Something interesting as well, and that I kind of wanted to give a forward on as well when I'm talking about integration platforms, because platforms can mean a lot of different things. For instance, when I was at Framer, we were building a design platform. When I was at Miro, we were building a collaboration platform, and at Gitbook, we were building a documentation platform. But the platform that I'm referencing actually isn't this platform at all. It's basically the platform for developers that allows them build on top of these different products. And it also relates to the first thing that I wanted to talk about, which is researching your ideal users. Because when you're building an integration platform, you're targeting a lot of developers. People know how to code, how to use technical products, how to build integrations on top of your product. But as I just mentioned and showed you in the last of the 3 products, those aren't necessarily developer products. They're for designers, they're for normal users, and they're for technical writers to build documentation. So it's really important to research who your ideal users are, but also to try to tap into the users that are currently using the product. And I actually just have a quick kind of anecdote about that at what we were doing at Framer during my time there, because Framer, as I mentioned, is a design tool, and we were building a developer platform for them at the time. And we weren't really successful building a developer platform for designers. I'm sure you can imagine how that would have gone. But we started to pivot a little bit and focus more on the product features itself and how those tied into a lot of the more advanced features. And that's when we became a lot more successful in building out the platform as a whole. The second, though, is don't underestimate the design early on. So if you have had any experience building or working on APIs, or if you are just the user of any APIs, I'm sure you can all relate to how important it is to good API design or just good integration or platform design, because it can be very frustrating if you're using something and it's not consistent, it doesn't work exactly how you'd want to use it. So start to think about these things very early on, build a lot of diagrams, build a lot of maps with your entire team, or just, again, start to think about this stuff early on rather than later on, because it's a lot easier to build something from the start than to go back and fix it. The third thing is to also think forward, and I wanted to speak specifically about deprecation. I have a little QR code up in the upper right-hand corner. I actually gave another talk about this a few months ago, about deprecation and how we thought about the deprecation policy at Miro, so you can go ahead and watch it. It's on my socials as well, because this is something that I've noticed that a lot of companies don't think about until it's too late or it becomes a little bit too hard. Especially when you are launching an integration platform, the thing on your mind isn't necessarily what's going to happen when it's done, because you're always thinking about getting this thing off the ground. But this is really important, not only for thinking about the end of life of an API or service, but also starting to think about like version 2 or version 3, because a lot of this stuff plays into your product or your APIs as they move forward. I go into this a lot more in this talk, so feel free to check it out if you're interested. But the fourth thing that I want to talk about is to ship early and ship often. This is something that I think a lot of product teams talk about, but specifically when you're building integration or a platform, it's really easy to think, as I mentioned, I just told you to think very early on and think about a lot of these things, but don't think too much about what you're doing. Well, actually do think about what you're doing, but don't forget to ship something, and don't forget to do it often, because otherwise you might just spend months on building something, and it's going to be too late, or people are going to start losing a little bit of interest in what you're working on. Fifth one is related to mostly kind of marketing to spread a lot of awareness. So do definitely work with partners or other teams. Not only is this going to help you with your marketing efforts to get and spread awareness about whatever you're building, but also early on, this is going to help you get a lot of feedback, especially when you're building a new platform or service. And up until then, maybe the only people who have been working on it have been internal teams on building things who are really, really biased about how it works and what it does. Getting feedback from partners or other teams is going to be also really, really critical to the success of the products you're working on, but also the success of the marketing efforts that might be going on too. You can definitely piggyback off a lot of these things. Don't close the feedback loop. I think this also is one that I was talking about, or I was thinking about before, but I think this is pretty self-explanatory, especially for DevRel. We love feedback. We love getting it from people. So now that I have this here, I'm kind of thinking about why did I put this here? Because I think all of us already knew about this. But yeah, make sure that you keep the feedback loop open, but also keep it open from the very start. Think about the tools you want to use for this and how you're going to collect it, and how you're going to also get this into the hands of the product teams or the developers who are going to be implementing any of the feedback that comes through. And the fifth one is documentation. Surprise, I work at a documentation company. But this is really, really important. But also, it's going to be the gateway to anyone who wants to use your product. So if you don't have it properly documented, the developer journey, the experience, and how things work, yeah, you're going to have a really, really hard time, because people aren't going to know what to do. But also, it's a good way to kind of showcase your product and give yourself more of an identity or brand for the service or product that you're building or working on. So again, I work at Gitbook. Probably don't want to spend too much time and do any stealth marketing there, but check it out, it's fun. And also, you can try and help me use my integration platform that I'm helping them launch and give me some feedback. But the 7 kind of summary of topics here: do a lot of research on your users. Don't underestimate the design of your product early on. Do think about deprecation, how it's going to work, how this plays in the long term. Shipped often. Again, don't wait to ship something. Definitely get your first version out and then go ahead and get feedback on that. Number 6, work with partners or again, community members. But I actually really wanted to focus on working with partners again, because that's going to help you with your marketing efforts. And make sure you document everything that's going on and make sure it's really easy for people to get started. And these are things, again, that I think are pretty self-explanatory, or a lot of people think about these at some point in the journey. But I really wanted to, again, highlight these from a getting started perspective, because I think a lot of these make sense as it gets further into the journey of building an integration platform. But if you start to think about these really early on before you, even start to code, it's going to make your life a lot easier and make the products you're making a lot better. So yeah, just wanted to share a few thoughts and leave some time open for some questions. Go ahead.
So go back to number 4, ship early, ship often. So this one is very counterintuitive for me, actually, and I'm curious to hear a little more detail on why, from a developer perspective, shipping early, obviously, right? Everybody wants the product, but the shipping often in particular, why you see that as a something that's very good for DX? Could you elaborate?
Yes. So I think one thing I left out is not necessarily shipping the final version or shipping production early, but definitely ship alphas and betas as soon as you can to start to collect a lot of this feedback. If you're not going to do that, or if you're not interested, if you think that's going to be not really the best move, definitely start to think about closed alpha and closed beta kind of communities. If you have a community of users already who are interested in using this like a platform. Also coming at this specifically from the perspective of what we're doing at Gitbook right now. We don't have really any users who are building on top of our APIs. And I wish we would have actually shipped some of these versions a little bit earlier, because we're working now against some deadlines to get this out. And we're missing a lot of like the feedback that I wish we would have had earlier on if we would have shipped something and gotten some of that feedback. So that's kind of the perspective that I was coming at it from.
I see. So this is specifically during the development phase of the product.
Yes, like the beginning. Because yeah, as you get further on into your into the product, I think actually this doesn't make so much sense, because you want to put more planning into the features and the products that you're building. Yeah, definitely.
So please give me ideas about how to order the ideas from feedbacks. So because some people said giving us a lot of feedbacks from the developers or partners or something, clients, something. So how to control the order, what is the, how to control that?
Yeah, like the weight of different features that are coming in. Yeah, so there's obviously a lot of different tools that can help with this, that help also direct the feedback back to product teams. Product board is specifically one that we were using at Miro that worked, I would say, relatively well. You have to, yeah, definitely gauge a lot of different perspectives of the stakeholders who are using the product. So obviously you have a lot of buy-in from sales and enterprise. These are the people who are bringing in the money. You also have, the community, the people who are actually then using the product, and then also the ideal users and the people that aren't necessarily using it yet, but the people that you want to start using it. This is always difficult, and also I don't think has a great answer, because ideally, from a growth perspective, you want to focus on getting the needs of the people who aren't using your product yet out. But from a business perspective, normally it's from the enterprises and like what makes the most money and how we're going to get the most value out of this. It's always, I would say, a game of playing with the people who are actually making like the business decisions and what you have as a goal as a DevRel team. Yeah, I think for us right now, what we're doing at Gitbook is we're really focusing on the growth aspect of it, because as I mentioned before, all the companies are working on before, the integration platform is kind of like the side on top of the actual product itself. So we aren't necessarily, we don't have as much pressure from like an enterprise perspective, or like what the enterprises are wanting, because we have more leeway there.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Right, thank you. All right, thank you, everybody, and thank you for all speakers. The in agenda, it's the time to cross 8:50 p.m. So, what time should we go out to? 22. 22 p.m. All right. Okay. So we can discuss something, or we can communicate with each other here. As you guys okay to stay here, right? Until the 10 p.m. Right? Right. Yeah. Okay. Of course, we can arrange to go out to grab anything at the grab beer or grab something, right? Okay, so that once that I'd like to cross, I'd like to bring this meetup to cross, right? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for joining.